It's quite clear that this isn't going to be the final fight. No, this is just the beginning of Granolah going a little mad and having to muse-ly about his options. Because he's cereal. That's right everyone, Dragon Ball Super the Manga Chapter 72 is here, and we are going to be seeing the idea of this once rather composed and level-headed hunter really turn into something else when his little wish he wanted may not be going the way he planned. Yep, probably might not have been best to sit around for months waiting for things to happen. You could end the fight right here and now if you did. I mean, Piccolo does this all the time, but at least he's meditating. Chapter 72, Saiyans vs Cerellian. The Saiyans have to contest against their biggest threat yet, the cereal section of a buffet! Now, if you want to get a more in-depth review of this episode, do check out our podcast and podcast YouTube channel tomorrow by clicking up top and subscribing so that you may get a more detailed and composed review once Haverock and I have had some time to process the events of this chapter. Hope to see you there. Where we last left off, we saw the likes of Granolah getting ready to wait for his enemies to show up. Instead of getting more used to his techniques, maybe give them some names, perhaps refine them a little more instead of just accepting his 147 years of potential acquisition in one go. Yeah? At least enjoy it? There to rub salt into the wound, we had the likes of Goku and Vegeta training further and further for months after the wish was granted to Granolah, in their respective fields, providing good results for all concerned. As for the Heaters, they got the information they needed, it's kind of their thing, you know, and went to Earth to not invade it, but to gain favour with the Dragon team in the form of payment. They hired the services of the Saiyans for some sky gold. By the way, some people told me in the comments from last chapter that this actually brought back something from the Moro arc, the sky gold. That was mentioned back then as some kind of fuel source for the universe, so Chi-Chi in a way is being paid in rocks. With their charge heading for planet Cereal, Granolah can now sense, somehow, them approaching, and the Heaters use their wits to tell them that the Saiyans are here under Frieza's orders and not theirs. Ooh, totally playing everybody present. I mean, they are pretty smart, you know, the Heaters. And so, we get the chapter 72 part commencing. We start off the chapter with Goku and Vegeta arriving on planet Cereal, and the two Heater siblings giving the pair of Saiyans the scope about where to go. However, they cannot sense any sign that a potential enemy is on their way. But of course, that's down to energy suppression, which, Vegeta points out quite astutely, is something they do all the time. Fair point. With the pair going off to take a closer look, Oil is charged with keeping an eye on the fight by providing coverage for Maki to probably report back to Elec the outcome of the battle, assuming Granolah will die, and, you know, they get what they want. And apparently, they are about to arrive. They being the compatriots in the main ship, with both of them not having fond memories of this planet. And that's probably most likely at the time 40 years ago when they gave the planet to the Shigarians, preparing it for it. And Gas has some really bad memories of the last time they were here. Why was that? Was it a battle perhaps, maybe? Between Granolah and he? A bad encounter with maybe another Shigarian? Well, either way, we'll find out pretty soon, and Gas has some very big doubts. As Goku and Vegeta are flying around, they spot the carnage and contrast of the Shigarian settlements and the old Cerellian ones, unaware of the history of this planet. But I feel this is actually something quite interesting, and I'm really glad that it's actually shown up. The history of the Saiyans, presented to our heroes without context, them being completely unaware of the legacy behind said actions. It's quite interesting for them to look back at the history of Dragon Ball in the here and now. You don't often do that. It's rather poignant. This is short-lived, of course, because this is Dragon Ball. When Granolah, it's pretty obvious given the accuracy of the attacks or who it is, starts to fire on the Saiyans with ki attacks, which Goku can barely dodge, and this gets Vegeta extremely angry, ready to go in already without ascertaining the threat specifically. Yep, that's our Jeets, and that's the result of Beerus' training, alright. Now fully powered up and Goku going into his Ultra Instinct sign mode, whilst in base, like he had been doing with Whis, the pair set off and are able to outmaneuver the attacks. Now this shot here is a really good contrast between how the Saiyans are diverging with their training styles. It's good to see actually a real stark and simple differentiation in the shape of one panel without text. Goku goes with the agile method of dodging effectively, whereas Vegeta is just doing it with a sheer boost in strength and speed. Cool! The opponent keeps moving and choosing to change the position of the attack from the sky to the ground and the sky again, instead of Granolah facing them directly. he will just change position, which is something that the pair aren't used to. This doesn't often happen. They prefer the close quarter stuff. But again, it's them trying to figure out who their challenger is, which is actually better than your typical Dragon Ball grandstanding and introductions. What makes it all the more surprising is that Goku does get hit in the back of the neck when he lets his guard down, falling out of his Ultra Instinct trance in base form. Granolah saw his chance and he took it, with his new gains as well as his laser eye accuracy. And actually, it's enough to take Goku out entirely to the point of needing to use a Senzu Bean already. And they only have 2. Well, I mean, 1 now. Okay? Way to up the stakes here, guys. And Vegeta, you're certainly no Krill Dog, because he has plenty of Senzu Bean! Ah, it's just not the same. That being said, it's curious and welcoming to see Vegeta of all people being the one who seemingly is in charge of what's going on. With Goku now taking things more seriously though, and powered up, we have some dodging going on before Granolah decides to actually make himself known to them, and introduces himself as the last of the Cerellians to great aplomb, but Vegeta has no idea about who Cerellians are. That kind of takes some of the luster off of it. That and Granolah doesn't do naming of techniques. Man, this guy is so dry and no fun. As Oil watches on and witnesses the true power of Granolah, with a little tinge of fear I might add, that might be going against the Heater's plans, and then of course the two Saiyans not working together. Typical. The whole point of this exercise from Vegeta's point of view was not to fight this combatant together as one, it was to show that Beerus was the better teacher. Oh man, that's classic Jeets right there. Choosing not to resort to teamwork when it's needed in an apt moment to do so. It's a bit of a weird choice also in words in my opinion, but hey, at least he is gracious enough to let Goku fight first, because he thinks that Goku has more of a grudge towards him, seeing as Granolah clipped him on the back of the neck. But what happens next is actually kind of funny. The sniper does call them out on this behaviour, calling the Saiyans a tribe of fools, which he isn't entirely wrong about actually. So at least there's a certain degree of self-awareness going on with the mangaka. Goku had been using Super Saiyan actually, then powers up to Super Saiyan God, after Granolah goes on about how much he knows the Saiyans love to turn into giant gorillas. But it's been a very long time since any of them had done that. Granolah thinks the name of Super Saiyan God is a little bit contradictory with the savage nature of the past, and again, Goku actually notices that's kind of true. Wow, Granolah is astonishingly willing to call Saiyans out on their foibles. It's kind of amusing actually, and rather refreshing. I mean hey, at least Toyotaro can poke fun at Dragon Ball a bit. Their fight carries on with Granolah using his accurate movements to give Goku no chance to counter. He actually hasn't hit Granolah at all. That is until Ultra Instinct shows up again! Apparently, according to Vegeta also, the one providing the info dumps for this chapter clearly, the effects of the technique are enhanced when using stronger Super Saiyan transformations. It works better as you go. Sort of like after you train in base, the gains in other Super Saiyan forms are greater. But what does that mean for regular Ultra Instinct then? The question for later. However, you may think that Goku has the upper hand again, what with being able to dodge Granolah, but you're wrong. He is knocked out eventually of Super Saiyan God again, by the Cerellian hitting a vital point and getting Goku off guard. He's been doing that a lot since he got here actually. It's quite a surprising move and something I'm not entirely opposed to seeing. At least it's different to what we usually get. We then get a little more intel into Granolah's goggles, and apparently it's so sharp and stuff, it can see so much, it can see through skin and monitor blood flow as things happen. He's wearing an Apple Watch! Wow, that's pretty deep. Sort of like how Goku can sense air vibrations with ki in the dark and whatnot. It's actually getting very scientific all of a sudden. It's interesting, but it's a little bit dry for a Dragon Ball manga, but hey, at least it's enough to jog Vegeta's memory at least. All the while, the veneer of the Heater's plan is getting a little bit frayed around the edges when Goku starts to think, well, wait, Frieza didn't send us here. But Granolah is like, oh, I don't care! Saiyans must die! Acting very one-dimensional, I must say. But hey, the Heaters were banking on Granolah doing exactly this! His fanaticism getting in the way of everything, and he's about to kill Goku right here and now. With Granolah powering up all the way, and Goku going into Super Saiyan Blue, their fight begins, and we get lots of grandstanding again. But this is Dragon Ball, so we've got to have at least some of that. Otherwise, it wouldn't be the same. As the Shigerians are the innocent bystanders here, Vegeta then spots an Uzaru print in the ground, and things begin to click. Vegeta might have worked out who Granolah is exactly. And we will find that out in the next chapter. All in all, this chapter was relatively heavy in the action department, which I will say, it was the right time to do this. Instead of getting another chapter of building up stuff, the whole when are we gonna get to the fireworks factory kind of thing, we get to see Granolah doing what he does best right from the start, giving the Saiyans a bit of a challenge to walk into. And after the previous few chapters, it is the right moment to come back to the bread and butter of Dragon Ball, and that is full-on action. It's been about 5 months since the end of the Moro battle, so I feel that this was welcome to have now. Any longer, and we probably might have started to see people just waiting for the manga and just stop reading it on the monthly. Granolah is not your average fighter, and he is simply doing this for revenge. He doesn't feel love for battle or an interest to figure out how Goku fights. No, he just has the facts and points them out. He doesn't care for the thrill of the chase. He just wants Goku dead. Sort of like Moro in a way. A being who doesn't care for a good fight and instead only wants to have a final outcome at the end of it. The way the Cerellian carries himself does make sense, and it is in keeping with how he is billed to be a top-grade sniper. It's true to his form. And it's cool, actually, to see a little more behind his signature goggle. It sees all. And yes, that includes exactly what you were doing before watching this video. You naughty, naughty people. The action in the manga itself was set up quite well in that it started off with the sniping from a distance, true to form. Then we got a little bit of close quarter stuff, and then Granolah's sudden vital area hits before going into the quintessential Dragon Ball stuff of powering up, screaming, flying in the sky, punching each other very hard, and having tons of ki going on amongst the group. We get something new, something old, something borrowed from old arcs, and something blue. Super Saiyan Blue. As for Vegeta, his role in this was very involved. He provided Goku some good cover, despite his mission here was being to prove Beerus wrong, that he was the better master, and that destruction training was better than Ultra Instinct. Vegeta going, ha ha ha, I'm better than you, Kakarot, ha ha. No, we didn't get that. It evolved over time, his role, and it showed the Prince was actually good in a crisis. He had the beans, and he was able to help Goku despite not wanting to fight with him. But without realizing, he kind of did fight with him. He had no choice, really, despite saying that he did have a choice. And then his role changed again, but on his terms, when he let Goku fight Granolah first. And this is where the history of the Saiyans becomes apparent. Vegeta, walking in the shadows of the past, seeing Saiyan destruction up close. It might be a very good bit of retrospective action at play here, seeing things from his new point of view now he's matured, and something else entirely. Once again, lamenting on how barbaric his people were, something he talked about in a previous chapter with Beerus. He is the right person to be walking in the footsteps of his people, and sure enough, he does know who this person is they are fighting actually, now his memory's been jogged, or at least his legacy and people's. Something we'll probably hear more of next month, we bet. So yeah, light on a little bit of terms of information and content, other than fighting, but this was the right time to do that, and I quite liked it. Good addition, I say. But what did you folks think of the chapter itself? Did you find it helpful in getting everything in place, or was it something you could have done without? Was the fighting not good enough for you? Let me know in the comments, and I shall see you next month for the review of Chapter 73. But until then, folks, catch you later.